Welcome to Scaling Up H2O, the podcast where we're scaling up on knowledge so we don't scale up our systems. Hi, everybody. Trace Blackmore here, your host for Scaling Up. And folks, I got to tell you, we're in 2019. It is so exciting to have the entire year in front of you and be able to plan what we are going to do. Of course, I had an episode earlier this year as my very first episode of the year, episode 67, where I spoke about the things that you could do that would help you enhance your career. And these, of course, were items such as trade shows and conventions and different trainings that you can go to. Many of you have written in saying that you do plan to attend some of these. Others have written in to say that I have forgotten some. And one of the people that called in and did that, actually they wrote me a message on LinkedIn, was Josh Cohen. And Josh is responsible for the water delegation in Israel. Now, he put me in contact with Gilly Elkin, and she works for the Israel Colorado Innovative Fund. And I have never met these people before. And that's why social media and this podcast is such an amazing tool, because I get to meet so many people out there in the industrial water treatment industry. And these folks happen to be in the potable water treatment industry. And they wanted me to share with you, the Scaling Up Nation, what the water delegation in Israel is doing. And when we got to talking, I found out so many things that we use today came out of Israel. So I thought it would be a great conversation to have and figure out why so many things are coming out of Israel and what do they expect to happen from this water delegation. So I hope you enjoy my interview with Gilly Elkin. My lab partner today is Gilly Elkin of the Israel Colorado Innovation Fund. Gilly, thanks so much for joining us on Scaling Up H2O.
Hi, Trace. Very glad to speak with you today, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn has connected me with so many interesting people in the water community. Your colleague, Josh Cohen, reached out to me via LinkedIn and told me about a water delegation that you guys are having in Israel. And that led to this interview and a great conversation before the interview. So I just can't wait to tell the Scaling Up Nation about what it is that you do and what you're doing with the delegation.
Thank you, Trace.
So I'm trying to think, what's the best way for us to get started? And maybe we just start with, what exactly is it that you do?
So I'm a general partner in the Israel Colorado Innovation Fund, the ICI fund, which is a private fund that invests in Israeli innovative technologies companies in the water sector and brings them to the U.S. and supports their scale-up through my partner, Inosphere, that is located in Colorado. Inosphere is a 20 years technology incubator that supports 40 companies a year for the last 20 years. So every company we're going to select from Israel in the water sector for investment and support is going to be supported by Inosphere with its scale up in the US.
I find that fascinating. I also find fascinating about all the innovative water technologies that are coming out of Israel. So I thought we could take a moment and talk about, why are these technologies coming out of Israel?
Well, as I'm sure you know, necessity is the mother of inventions. And since 60% of Israel is a desert, we had to come up with innovation in water to overcome the challenges of scarcity. In fact, innovation in water started before the country was established. When the British government prevented immigration to the area, claiming that the area could not meet the demand of the growing population. However, these days we are exporting water to our neighbors. Now, I think that this is the result of innovation in many areas. For example, desalination. We have 5 desalination plants providing 80% of the water consumption in Israel. wastewater treatment. We treat 95% of our wastewater and reuse 86 of that for agricultural purposes. Irrigation, we use drip irrigation that was invented in Israel in 75% of our irrigated fields. We seed clouds, capture the rain, and reuse it. And we have the leading cybersecurity, leak detection, and IoT technologies for the water sector.
It definitely is impressive, all the things that come from that area of the planet. What would you say is the most innovative that you've seen come from Israel?
That's a very good question. So as I see it, we live in an era in which wastewater, as I'm sure you know, must be reused for agriculture and reused for drinking. So in order to improve quality of wastewater, a groundbreaking technology was developed by Can-Do with a K. What's unique about Can-Do is that it is treating wastewater like whiskey. And what I mean when I'm saying that is that Can-Do's technology monitors continuously the quality of wastewater and identifies real-time events that threat wastewater's quality. So using artificial intelligence and data analytics, Can-Do's innovative technology analyzes the entire wastewater of a city and produces automatically insights and action items for the operators of utilities. Currently, Can-Do's technology is deployed all over Israel, and starting in California, Can-Do is now penetrating to the US, also through Colorado and other states, with the goal to provide insights into the quality of wastewater and increase the quantity that can be reused. And I encourage everyone to look for Can-Do's meaning, the word. It's a Japanese word, but I encourage people to look at the meaning of the word.
Well, I'll put that on my show notes page to encourage people. How about that?
Sounds good.
You know, it's great to live in the United States. You turn on the faucet and water comes out. And you said before, necessity is what makes people be more innovative. You said it a lot better than I just did. But I look at usage maps and we have so much water in the United States, but when you fast forward 20, 30, 40 years, it's not going to be like that. What advice do you give people in the United States to be better stewards of the water that we do have?
That's a big one. So I didn't touch on the other factors that caused Israel to be a leader in water management. So not only water innovation, but also water management. So people in Israel are educated from a very young age to conserve water. So we appreciate the scarcity of water since a very young age. If you compare the nursery rhymes that you have in Israel, which say, drip, drop, clap your hands, with US nursery rhymes, rain, go away. It all starts in education in a very young age. All of Israel is covered with signs that are telling the public to conserve water and that every drop counts. People in Israel do not wash cars because of the awareness to water conservation. So everything starts with education. It's a big pride for Israelis how we succeeded to export water to our neighbors. So I would advise first but it's not to the people, it's more to the states and to the educators to start educating kids from very young age to perish every drop of water. This would be first advice. Another thing that Israel has done is it separated water from politics, since the consequences of water are only shown many years after the official elected is out of office. Water was separated from politics, and we have one national water authority that manages water as a whole. And water in Israel belongs to the public, which is very different than in the US. So it's easier for this national water authority to plan water for the greater good and plan the future of water, taking into account innovation that doesn't exist yet. Not easy to duplicate all of those things and bring them to a different culture, different state. But I would also recommend a better advice would be maybe to look at innovation coming out of Israel and deploy promising water technologies in the US by water and wastewater utilities.
Well, and that brings us to the topic that you and I originally started talking about, where you are putting on a water delegation in Israel. And what is the overall goal of the delegation?
So it started a year ago by the establishment of the Israeli-US Water Initiative. The initiative is a platform that connects between US water and wastewater utilities and between Israeli water companies. So US utilities benefit from the screening process done by the Israel Colorado Innovation Fund, by the ICI Fund, which is a private fund that anyway screens hundreds of Israeli companies before selecting one for investment and support in the US. The ICI Fund introduces the US utilities to the selected companies, such as Candu, that was selected out of hundreds of companies for investment and support in the US. The support that we are providing helps water utilities understand that those companies are going to be sustainable in the US. So the main goal of the Israel-US Water Initiative is to educate US utilities, water and wastewater utilities, about innovation coming out of Israel. Now, this initiative is supported by the Israeli government on one hand and by AWWA on the other hand, which is the largest water organization in the US. It is also supported by a few governors from different states in the US. So under this initiative, we bring US water and wastewater utilities together with Israeli companies to talk about the challenges of US utilities adopting new technologies and to talk about and to introduce solutions for the water industry coming out of Israel. The delegation that we're hosting now is under this initiative. So the delegation is supported by the Israeli government and AWWA, and some of the costs of the delegation are covered by the Israeli government and AWWA. The goal of the delegation is to take US water professionals to Israel and educate them about the water ecosystem in Israel and about the innovative landscape there. We're going on first week of February. We currently have around 15 delegates, and we are limited to 30 delegates, and we will be happy to add more participants. And anyone who's interested can contact me at gilly@ici.fund.
I'll make sure to have that on my show notes page as well. And thank you so much for inviting me. Unfortunately, I've got something else planned during that, but it sounds incredible. So for the listeners out there, who specifically are you looking for? Who's the listener that needs to email you and say, yes, I need to be part of this delegation?
So anyone who is interested in learning about Israel's water ecosystem and innovation landscape, innovative technologies should come to this trip. And I can give you some destinations and some facilities that I can mention some facilities we are going to visit during our trip there. So we're going to visit the Israel National Water Authority and understand how it manages water in Israel. We're going to visit Sorek desalination plant, the world's largest seawater reverse osmosis desalination plant. We're going to visit Shafdan, the wastewater treatment plant, many other big utilities that will tell us what technologies they are using. We're going to have a day dedicated to cybersecurity. So we're going to have a cybersecurity drill for water utilities, of course, and listen and learn about innovation in cybersecurity coming out of Israel. Israel is very strong in cybersecurity too. We're going to have 2 nights. One night we're going to have many startups pitch their innovative solutions to the water utilities. And one night that is going to be a roundtable, having all water utilities, all participants together with Israeli water utilities discuss challenges of the water industry in the US and in Israel. Of course, we're going to visit also historic sites such as Jerusalem, the Old City, Caesarea, and the desert, Metzadah, and the Dead Sea, the lowest point on earth. And the best thing would be we're going to enjoy the best food on earth, which is here in Israel.
And you're probably a little biased about that, I would guess.
I wouldn't say so.
So this is the second time you've put this on, correct?
This delegation is the first time, but water roundtables, we had 3 of them. So we had one in Denver hosted by AWWA. We had one during WEFTEC in New Orleans, and we had one in Maryland. All of them connected between many water and wastewater utilities in the US. And they talked about their challenges to adopt technologies and what are their technology needs. And they were introduced to different water solutions coming out of Israel. So this will be the 4th water roundtable, which will be hosted for the first time in Israel.
Well, excellent. Well, I'm hoping that you get some people out of the Scaling Up Nation that are interested in learning all the wonderful things that you described that are going on in Israel, and then hopefully taking some of that information back. Gilly, is there anything that you want to add for the Scaling Up Nation?
No, I think that the US is a great market to scale up innovative companies coming out of Israel. This is the mission in everything we are doing here. And I hope to talk with you maybe next year and talk about great results and how we succeeded to scale up Kandu all over the United States. That's the first company, but I'm hoping to speak about many more companies next time. And more important, I'm hoping to have you visit Israel next time we are doing this, having this delegation.
Well, I am going to hold you to every one of those items you mentioned.
Please do.
Gilly, thanks so much for coming on the show. This has been very informative. And if you don't mind sharing some of the links with me, and I'll put those on my show notes page. So if people do want to find more information about what it is that you do and what the delegation does, it'll be very easy for them to go to scalinguph2o.com. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I look forward to finding all of the wonderful things that come out of this delegation.
Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure speaking with you, Trace.
I just can't tell you how cool that was to meet people through the podcast. And you can tell she is delightful. We had a little conversation before we started recording. It is amazing what they do, and of course, the reasons that they do it. So thank you so much for coming on and letting the Scaling Up Nation know, Gilly, what you guys are doing over in Israel. Now, I wanted to talk about a few things. One, we just had the ASHRAE show a couple of weeks ago, so I'm going to be telling you a little bit about that on some upcoming episodes. And we also have the Association of Water Technologies technical training coming up very soon. So if you're interested in that, go to scalinguph2o.com/AWT TT, that's 3 T's at the end, and that will shoot you directly to that page. And of course, you will see me there. If you're interested in finding out more about some of the water-related things that are going on this year, go to scalinguph2o.com/67, and that was my first episode of the year. And that was a sampling of some of the water-related industries for what you can do this year, some things that you can participate in. I got to tell you that the fact that people are reaching out to me like Gilly, like Josh, and it's allowing people to come together to share ideas, to spread ideas. And you all know that one of my favorite books is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and that is habit 6, coming to life. Habit 6 is, of course, synergy, and synergy is when two or more people get together, they can create a result that's much bigger, that's much stronger than either one could by themselves. And I'm sure that's what's going to happen as a result of this water delegation. Folks, many of you call in and you ask how you can help me. And of course, my answer is always going to be to keep listening. But there's so many water treaters out there that have not heard of the Scaling Up H2O podcast. I would love it if you could post on your social media that there is a podcast for us water treatment people out there. I would love it if the next time you saw a fellow water treater, you let them know about Scaling Up H2O. And many water treaters out there still don't grasp the concept of podcasts. Folks, there are so many great podcast apps out there. You do not have to go online. Of course, you can, and we have that on our website, scalinguph2o.com, but you do not have to go online to listen to each and every episode. So folks, when you're out there speaking with those water treatment professionals, remind them to use their favorite podcast app and subscribe to Scaling Up H2O. That way you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to do anything. And every time I deliver a new show to the Scaling Up Nation, it will go directly to your podcast app and you will see that you have a show waiting for you. Folks, thank you so much for listening to Scaling Up. Thank you so much for helping me grow the Scaling Up Nation, and I'll talk to you next week on Scaling Up H2O.